Well, I just want to reiterate a number of the comments that I had here at the public part of the press conference, and that is how excited I am, Amy is, and really our three kids are, even though they're not here with us today, to be back in Cincinnati and also here at Xavier University. The last time that we were here, which was 13 years ago, that 8-year period of time in our family's life was some of the happiest moments that we've had. And it wasn't all because of what happened on the court. A lot of that was good, but it was just being a part of a community like Cincinnati, being a part of a university and a university community like Xavier. I also want to make sure that I just touch on one other thing, and that is really my theme earlier that I talked about, which is lessons learned. When you've done things for 29 years like I have in college basketball, 17 of those years at two places that love college basketball, Xavier and Arizona, you learn a lot of things. Sometimes the lessons are being reinforced by things that go well in all aspects of the job, and you're through your experiences so much more ready and prepared to lead, to overcome adversity, to do the job both on the court and also make sure that these guys, Drew and CJ, great examples, Keith, that when they leave here that they're armed and ready for the rest of their lives, academics and all the other things that happen during this crucial 4-year window when they're at Xavier. And when mistakes are made and the consequences of those mistakes are felt, that also is another way of learning, and I've learned that too. But I bring all that here to Xavier with just really an incredible excitement to do things better, to really withhold the values of Xavier as a university on and off the court, and to get back to a culture that I love and trust, and a culture and a place that knows me very well. And that's, I think, the most exciting part of all this, that although it is a new beginning, there is so much familiarity between so many things. So that's my statement, and be more than happy to answer the questions.
Coach, I think a lot of people in general probably wish that second chances were a lot more common than they actually are. And I'm curious, what does this chance mean to you, and what does it mean that it's here at Xavier?
Well, I just touched on it, to a large degree there, and that is that there's great familiarity and trust between my family, me, and this university. And, there's new leadership now with Dr. Hanich and Greg Christopher, but we've had some great conversations, and as we've now spent more time together, it's unique, first of all, but it's also very, very exciting to coach at a place where there's the shared vision and alignment that they have. And I mentioned that earlier in my comments, where they recognize the importance of our basketball program to this community and university, and they also have such a passion and love for the values of Xavier. And I think for me to have that opportunity to come back to it, a place that I was here already. Like you said, it doesn't happen a whole lot, but just excited about that. And I would also say this, that Xavier's not the same place that I left. As always here, it's been a constant quest to improve, to add, to be better. And in our world, college basketball, to be a part of the Big East Conference is something, it's really, I think that in and of itself is exciting, but to partner both all the things that I do know exist at Xavier, and then have that stage of the Big East Conference, it sets this place apart from so many places.
Coach, piggybacking off that, you came back for a game in February. I think you said that's the first time you'd been here in a while. How eye-opening was that trip to see just what the Cintas Center even looks like compared to last time you had seen it?
It was very eye-opening. To clarify that, when I left in April 2009, just for no reason other than just you're now responsible for a new team. The calendar year for a college basketball coach is fever pitch, as we all know, but the distance being so far west, we never made it back. Some of it is I had too much tunnel vision to even take a moment to catch my breath. Some of that was on me, but with this year and having more time, Amy and I came back, and we really came back with the sole purpose initially just of seeing friends and people that we haven't seen a lot. We lived in Loveland. We have some great friends there, and we were able to do that. That's where I spent most of the time. The fact that we were able to catch a game as well, which was the UConn home game, and to your point, seeing the scoreboard, seeing how much the Cintas Center has changed. And by the way, some of it hasn't changed, the good part of it, the crowd and how much people love Xavier. So we felt all that, and it was a good time. And on that particular game, I thought the team played great. It was probably one of the best wins of the Big East season.
Sean, when you got the job on Saturday, as part of your statement when the press release came out, you said one of the things you like most about Xavier is they do things the right way.
Yeah.
Is there anything in conversations that you had with the administration that you had to convince them that you can run the program in the right way going forward here at X?
No, like I had mentioned, there's tremendous familiarity between Xavier and my family, me as a coach, who I am as a person, and there's equal familiarity and passion between me knowing Xavier as the university it is, the values that they hold, and those conversations, questions being asked and answered, went very well. And that's why I'm here today.
Coach, congratulations, Gary Miller.
Thank you.
You touched on a little bit of this, but are there touchstones either here on campus or in the city that now that you're back, that you get back to and say, I feel home again?
I already feel that way. I believe Amy does as well. Sometimes I'm guilty of saying the same thing over and over again, and as she's reminded me, I get it. I know you're excited. I am too, but you don't have to keep saying it. And that's just how I feel. I mean, but the last time we were here, it was 8 years, and we got three people here. You have Keith Jackson, you have C.J. Anderson, and Drew Lavender. And, Keith, he was there when I went from assistant to head coach. And then, I was this young, riled up, emotionally charged head coach. I'm sorry, Keith. And as we all look back at that time in our lives, you'd say, God, how much wiser I am today than I was then. And then I incrementally got wiser, but not a whole lot, but I did as I then, coached both CJ and Drew. And but I mentioned from a basketball perspective, the 2007 team that I coached, and I've had the opportunity to coach some really good ones at Arizona. I don't know if any team that I've coached has meant more to me than their team, 2007. I mean, we were 30-7. And when you came to play us here in the Cintas Center, I mean, there was very few hard games that year. I mean, we were really good. They were really good. And we got to the tournament. The bigger the challenge, the more these guys rose. And again, I want you to think about that matchup. No disrespect to these guys, but I mean, you have Russell Westbrook and Kevin Love and Darren Collison and Richard Mbamute on that team. And when they won, they went to play Derrick Rose in Memphis. But I used so much of what I learned coaching them as a foundation moving forward. And one of the things that I learned is not every team's the same. Sometimes as much as trying to pull out that grit and determination and toughness, having a bunch of people with a chip on their shoulder in a good way, playing together as a team, you try your best, but each year is like a start over. It's different. But the standard that those guys held that year is something I've never forgotten. Skyline Chili, you know, like a couple of people told me, you know, lay low, don't eat 5 a day. But I haven't had it in a long time. I love those things, man. I really do. Grater's ice cream, we got it in Cincinnati. Black raspberry chocolate chip. You know, you can get it at a grocery store out there called Fry's. And we did it. But our kids, they love Skyline Chili. They talk about it, not all the time now, but if they were here, that's where they would be headed.
Sean, welcome back. You alluded to this where you talked about lessons learned and all that.
Mm-hmm.
The way it ended in Arizona, do you understand or realize maybe there's a perception or a public trust maybe that has to be maybe earned back a little bit? And is there any concern about what else may be coming out of that whole thing?
No, the matter at Arizona is separate from today here at Xavier. And there'll be a time, and I'm confident in saying that topic can be talked about. But just out of respect for the process, although it's coming to an end, it's not there yet. And when that day and time comes, I look forward to sharing more. You know, right now, today is so much about returning here and certainly doing things the Xavier way, which I talked about in my earlier comments.
Sean Brandon, Sale with WLWT. Just the expectation, you talked about it out there. It's always been trending upward. The last 4 years, X hasn't been to the tournament. What's the expectation, you know, right away? It's got to be year after year tournament, right?
That becomes the expectation, but look, I've been at this long enough to know that, you know, it's sometimes you can say certain things on day one to excite everybody, but there becomes a reality here in about 1 hour when you leave, and now it's, okay, here we go. At this point, you know, I don't know the players on Xavier's team. They don't know me. I know who they are, but not like these guys. And, you know, we're in 2022 where it's a different day and age across the board, whether it be with your own players or in recruiting, et cetera. And so the starting point is to get to know these guys and get 1 foot on the ground. Hiring a coaching staff that's the perfect fit for Xavier takes time. Obviously, I've been very impressed with the staff that's here now, and in particular, the leadership of Jonas Hayes. Speaks for itself. Jonas came on my radar when I was at Arizona, and a lot of people that I respect encouraged me to try to hire him. Xavier beat me to the punch. But it's the irony of it all is that, you know, as we come back here, you know, I really respect him a great deal. I think you guys do as well, as you see him handle an incredibly difficult situation. But once the foundation is together and both feet are on the ground, of course, it would be expectation to compete for championships, you know, go to the tournament, advance, and do that one thing that, again, you know me well, a lot of people. I know Xavier well. There's one shared thing that we both have in common. You've been close, but you've never been in a Final Four. And to be able to come back here and have a chance to do something for the first time, that pinnacle, it is so hard to do. You saw it last night in the NCAA tournament. You know, the team that I was a part of, know everybody, coached everybody on the team, I think except 2 of those players for Arizona, they lost. Houston wins. You know, Gonzaga, they lose. Arkansas wins. So being able to get there, you have to get there, and you have to constantly get there. And then you have to have the belief you can advance, and then all of a sudden, one day you'll walk through that door. But that's why I'm here, to lead everybody through that door.
Coach, obviously in Arizona, you had big games like Arizona State as a big rivalry. I was curious if you can speak a little bit on coming back and rejoining the Crosstown Shootout, being the first guy to be a 2-time head coach in the rivalry.
I guess that's a good honor, right? But look, the Crosstown Shootout speaks for itself. Like, nobody has to convince me to be the most ready you can be for that game, how important that game is to our fans, what it stands for in this city. And when we play that game, we're going to be ready. I know what that means. I've been here for 8 years, so I competed in 8 of them, and I look forward to competing in the 9th one. On a side note, one of the things this year with more time, I engaged with a lot of coaches. I wouldn't say a lot, a few coaches, but all guys that I really respect, and I followed them. I talk to them more. They talk to me a lot. And one of those guys is Mick Cronin. And, you know, when Mick and I were here, again, that was a different day and age. We embodied the crosstown shootout. But, you know, he became the head coach at UCLA in Arizona. And unfortunately, I wasn't successful in the last couple of years against him. But he's a great coach. Everybody here knows that. He's doing an awesome job at UCLA. But Mick and I have become really good friends. Really, I mean, when he saw me get the Xavier job, he was on the plane with his dad. I won't tell you everything he said, but he just said, man, it's crazy you're going back to Xavier. I'm really happy for you. And I'm really happy for him because, you know, he's earned the right to be at UCLA. And, you know, I hope he gets back to his second Final Four.
Hey, Sean, welcome back. I'm sure you're happy to be back, as you've said on numerous occasions. Every coach wants to establish their own culture, and I'm curious what you've learned about coaching throughout your experiences this time around, how it will be different for you, and how it's different coaching now in the Big East.
Right, so culture, you know, is used in every I think, organization in our world today. When things are going well, everybody talks the word culture. And when things don't go well, you must have a terrible culture. But one of the things that I've learned is the really true test of what you've built, the foundation, is when something happens. And in sports, in your best attempt to avoid catastrophe. I mean, it can happen in so many different ways on a college campus that you can overcome it, that you can get through it. And when you get to the other side, you might actually be bigger and better and more prepared. And that organization you're in charge of, that team, that program, may be built to last even better than it once was. And it's one of the things I'm so proud of at Arizona. We clearly went through some tough times. But if you look at the team that they had this year, that was built with a lot of thought. And if you look at where they are, I think it's built to last. I will tell you this, when I got there in 2009, it's a lot better place right now in 2022. And I go back to when we left Xavier. I didn't talk about this, but this group right here, Drew and CJ, you know, we went to an Elite Eight and won 30 games. We followed that up and we won another championship in the Atlantic 10. We're in the Sweet 16, and some of you may remember the game, but we were an inch away from advancing and playing Villanova in the Elite Eight. But that following year, when I was no longer here and Chris Mack became the coach, they had another chance to get to a Final Four. I think they lost in double or triple overtime to Kansas State in the Sweet 16, and they were, again, this close to being really in back-to-back-to-back Elite Eights. So when you think of culture, or if I answer that question, I have a lot of resolve in me to know that a lot of good things that we've done, both when I was here the first time and what I just left, were done the right way. And clearly there's so many things you can do better. And this year off that I mentioned, it just it's almost fascinating to see how different you think and how when you get the next opportunity, I think you have such an energy about you, and that's where I'm at today.
We have time for one final question.
The last year that you've been away from basketball, you kind of got involved in the media a little bit. You started podcasting with your brother and things like that. And I remember about a month ago or so on one of your podcasts, you talked about Xavier. And you talked about how it's always been a program with a chip on its shoulder. And that's really been one of the reasons for its success over the years. And not to say that chip has necessarily left, but what's the process look like to get that chip back to where you want it to be?
Number one, it takes time, but it starts with what I would call, like in our organization, the process of recruiting champions. And when I say recruiting champions, next to it is, you know, what I would call OKGs, our kind of guys. that fit me as a coach, fit this place as a university, both on and off the court, and also can be successful in America's best conference, the Big East. We're all, as coaches, only as good as the players that we have, and then how well they work together and the effort that they all put into becoming the best. You know, a great example is, I've watched the Bengals for a long time. They look a lot different with Joe Burrow there right now. I mean, and I know quarterback in the NFL transcends every franchise, but, and then he looked a lot better when, you know, his buddy from LSU showed up, and now he's the receiver, and you just do it. It's like coach looked better, stadium was more excited, recruiting champions. And it's really important. It takes a lot of work. You have to have the right staff. Sometimes you have to get lucky, but I'm really looking forward to doing that. You don't have to recruit a ranking. You know, for every McDonald's All-American, and there's one right behind you, Drew, right? Same game as LeBron James, by the way, in case anybody forgot that. That really shows you how talented LeBron is. Look at him and think about LeBron still playing. I'm sorry, man. I had to hit you a little. I mean, I couldn't just be Mr. Nice Guy to you the whole time. And he looks good, but you know what I mean. I mean, LeBron James, Drew Lav. But you don't. You know, I've chased the rankings sometimes, and when we've done it, it's really worked out. Some great players, but Lowry Markkanen wasn't ranked high. Christian Koloko wasn't ranked high. Ben Mathurin wasn't ranked high, and I could keep going. T.J. McConnell wasn't ranked. I played at Duquesne in the Atlantic 10. A lot of people at Arizona, he would get tired of them saying, "Where's Duquesne at?" You know, they didn't know, but he was a really good player for Duquesne in the Atlantic 10. But some of those types of players have won the most games, and the ranking's one part of it, but the evaluation and the fit, I believe that's way more important. Way more important.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. It's nice to be here, and look forward to talking a lot with you.